this unique experience. I was working as a radio disc jockey at a black program station, but I was also a clerk at that same station because those were the things, it was a way of getting into the business then. And the news director was a one-man news department, and he always needed help. And I was a good volunteer, and I volunteered to go with him to the 1964 Republican Convention. News director Louis Freeman and I were two black people who got into the building with gallery passes because they would not credential black media. So we got in and we hung out in the rafters as long as we could for a couple of days until we were discovered. And then came all of the awful words that you don't want to hear. And then came whatever they had to throw at us to hurry our exit from the San Francisco Cow Palace to get out the door. And we avoided as much of that. We were lucky we were not injured, although they did throw a couple of bottles at us that crashed on through the ground and didn't. One came close enough for me to get quibbly lips on that walk. And I looked at the way they were treating us and then saw the way they were treating the media. They didn't want their real selves to be revealed to the world. So they really taunted all of the people in the broadcast booth and the reporters on the floor as much as possible. And I said to myself, you know, I want to have the power of those guys so that the fellows like the one chasing us from this building will fear us and what we could do. And I resolved, with no experience, no college, no training, I was going to become a journalist, and that I'm determined to work to figure out how to get there. And that was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
This is not real. I kept saying to my husband, I think they're going to give me this job. I think I just got this job. Then I started thinking, oh, God, where am I going to get clothes from? What do I do for myself? How do I fix myself up to look like a TV person? Well, it was wonderful being a black female at that time. My whole village, my whole community of friends all went to work to make sure that I would end up shipshape for that job. Well, there were no women reporters except for the new news anchor or the 6 o'clock anchor who went out occasionally to do special assignments, but nobody doing the cops and robbers stuff. There were no women at any station doing that. And so there they were, not only with a woman, but a woman of color that they had to go out with and walk down the street with and appear with. And for some, that was uncomfortable. But we eventually worked it out. The wonderful thing about my life is I've been allowed to do so many stories. Some of them I remember because of the tragedy of the story, of the deep personal hurt that went with it. A few, the joy of the moment. And so how do I balance, those moments one from the other? I think the first day I realized that I was sort of in the big league was when I arrived in Cuba to interview Fidel Castro and realized that I was, other than Barbara Walters, the first American TV reporter he had talked to in 16 years. And that was a big deal.
That is a big deal.
That was a big get. So that was a singular moment. What I think I liked better than anything else is that many of the people just treated me as though I knew what I was doing, that I was a qualified journalist to do this work, and expecting that of me, I expected it of myself.
I read the foreword with Bill Cosby, and he was saying to you, seeing you on TV with such grace and being fearless and covering these certain stories, that's what we needed at the time. So we thank you for being that for us. And I thank you for giving me this time to interview you. And you're so pleasant.
Oh, thank you. Oh, dear.